bailout plan.
This is a copy of the bill which will provide for a $700 billion bailout of Wall Street. It has provisions in it where it talks about helping homeowners, but when you read the fine print, you see it has language like may instead of shall, and encouraging instead of mandating help for the millions of homeowners who are worried right now about whether they're going to lose their home. There's no help for them in this. So what we have here is a rescue plan that essentially gives all the speculators a bailout and puts the bad debts in the custody of the government. The president of the Dallas Federal Reserve Bank has said that this plan could create a fiscal chasm, says that the problem isn't a tight monetary policy, it's the reckless behavior of some of these investors who have now found themselves in a position where a government bailout is going to help reward their bad behavior.
Is it any better than when it was first introduced by the Treasury Secretary, by Henry Paulson?
Well, you know, that implies that you would accept the underlying premise. I reject the underlying premise that we needed this bill, and as a matter of fact, that we're putting this up before an adjournment in an election season shows that Congress is being put under extraordinary pressure to bail out Wall Street. We haven't looked at any alternatives, Amy. This is, you know, it isn't as though if you had a liquidity crisis that, you know, a real one, that you'd start to look at all the alternatives. We haven't done that. We have a bill here, a bill of more than 100 pages, that we haven't had a single hearing on the bill, you know, on the concept, yes, on what Paulson and Bernanke asked for initially, but, you know, we need to have hearings on this. There's 400 economists and 3 Nobel Prize-winning economists who said, whoa, wait a minute, what are you doing? Why are you rushing this? You know, this thing doesn't smell right, frankly.
What do you think has to happen right now?
Well, you know, Congress better get ready with a plan B. If this thing goes down, we need to find a way to help Wall Street pay for its own problems. You can do that with a 20.25% stock transfer tax, cancellation of dividends. You know, make the shareholders and the investors have to pay for the funny business that was going on Wall Street. Why make the taxpayers pay? You know, the very underlying idea of this needs to be challenged, and frankly, there hasn't been enough of that going on. Well, what we have is a transfer of wealth, actually. It's a continuation of a transfer of wealth. This whole government's become nothing more than a big machine that transfers the wealth upwards with our tax policies, our energy policies, with its fiscal policies, with the war. All the wealth of the country goes from the pockets of the people into the hands of a few. This is a very dangerous moment. You know, this is the biggest amount of injection of capital by the government in a single time since the New Deal. And frankly, there's no trickle down here. There's just rewarding bad behavior.
It sounds like it was mainly the House Republicans who balked, who revolted on Friday. Yet you and a number of your colleagues are joining them. Do you believe this will pass today?
Well, it's going to be a very close vote. And I don't see this as a partisan issue, by the way. I mean, in a way, the debate that tries to make it a partisan issue is a diversion. This is really whether or not people will side with Main Street in a struggle with Wall Street, because you know, this is not about left or right. This is about up or down, and it's about the color green. And frankly, Wall Street has put itself on a trajectory with now we have almost half a quadrillion dollars of derivatives that are floating out there. People have said that if this is intended to be a fix, it's a joke on one hand. On the other hand, who's paying for it? Why are we rushing this? I don't, you know, everything about this, I think, is unacceptable.
Congressman Kucinich, what happens if this doesn't pass?
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, we need to be ready with Plan B, which helps Wall Street restrain some of this bad conduct, which you know, looks at some of the issues of liquidity that have to do with the policies of the Fed. We had a former head of the FDIC tell a group of congressmen yesterday that the Bush administration has been going around in the last few weeks actually so tightening up on the practices of banks that they're forcing them to have bigger reserves, which in a way would, you know, kind of help to create the kind of tight money policies that we're saying we're trying to alleviate with this bill. So, you know, there needs to be a deeper look at this. It seems to me there's a possibility that this crisis has a little bit of manufacture to it, and that really concerns me because we haven't had enough time to look at this in an in-depth way, to analyze the impact of it on the economy, to see if it's going to do anything about a recession that we're obviously headed into, to see if it's going to handle the underlying concerns on Wall Street about the speculation and the lack of regulation. The bill doesn't, by the way, address anything about the speculation, anything about the lack of regulation. The SEC has failed, the Fed's failed, and we're essentially telling all the same actors, go for it. You know, here's another opportunity, except this time it's with taxpayers' money.
We'll come back to Democratic Congressmember Dennis Kucinich after break.